Another exciting day in the stock market. It is March 26, 2019, and there is the question, why did the stock market go up? So there was a few reasons, and I'm going to focus on a few things. That's why I even have this screen up here. We're going to talk about the interest rates and the yield curve briefly, but even just jumping right into it, wait, actually, before I do that, drop a thumbs up on this video if you like this video, if you guys like the screen better than the no face, no case, if you want to support anything, and to make sure YouTube shows you this, and also check out the live streaming channel. We had 600 people today. That was awesome. So come throw in the info. There's a lot of questions. A lot of people are bringing info, so it's pinned in the comment, youtube.com/the stock market, 30 minutes before open. But let's talk about it. There's a few things that happened. First, European stocks were up. European and Japanese stocks were up, and that kind of boosted the markets, but Chinese stocks were down, so that was some of the bull case. And then at the same time, though, for the negative side, but even though the markets, because again, the S&P gapped up today, and it hit a high of 282, then it came down, but even the Dow was up at one point, about like 250, give or take, I think 25 points or so. It was up there. And then it came down and it closed at 140 with this pretty big rip here at the end. But the housing data, U.S. housing data, and some of the other manufacturing data that was coming out, that was bad. And now tomorrow, watch tomorrow, I think around noon, we are going to be getting the GDP data. So and then I think Canada's balance of trade, but we're going to get like the imports, exports from the U.S. So that could be a surpriser. And now that's going to have the next effect with what we're going to talk about was the dollar and the rates. But now the thing that really was, I believe, is the main factor is even though the yield curve inverted again for the third day, which I'm going to show you, at the same time, it was briefly up. So rates got a little bit of relief, and that brought up the bank stocks. They didn't come right back down, but then the rates ended up coming down again, and the yield curve actually got more inverted, and that was the reason why we saw the market drop a lot on Friday and even, have these moves, and kind of it ended up positive but closed yesterday with, again, just more volatility. This is literally right when that yield curve inversion started, so we got that today. So that's actually a very interesting thing to note, and that's what we saw. We even put up TLT. This is the inverse, so when this goes up, that means that the bond rates are going down and vice versa. So that's been interesting to watch, and we've been watching that on stream. But that is what I believe has been a major cause of today going up. And now even part of that, we even saw Germany, and now that's related to even Europe. Germany's bonds, they dropped negative again, and I wanted to show you guys that as well, because the last time that happened, here you guys see it dropped. It went to negative 0.02 and closed, but the important thing to, close at negative 0.01, but the important thing to note, a few days ago, it was literally at 0.10, a tenth of a basis point, and now it's negative. So that's a pretty steep drop. But the last time we saw it go negative was around, literally, they had a pretty big drop leading into Brexit. The bond yields were dropping, and then literally day after Brexit, after that passed, and that went through and all that commotion, we even saw U.S. stocks, for those, we brought that up a few times, that dropped. So watch out for this stuff with Europe, the UK and the Brexit deal. I know we brought that up. Don't think we forgot about that, because that is actually developing for the worse. So that bond yield, one, it's signaling what's going on there in Europe, but at the same time, it's having an effect now on global bonds, and that's having an effect on dollars and the other currencies. So fairly all the other currencies, I said from the watch list, they were up, they held up there, but it was still pretty it was fascinating today. It was fascinating, a lot of things to learn, and that's even one thing you guys could see. We're looking at, on a micro scale, we're looking at bigger macro stuff, and I'm going to talk about it too with the yield curve, because a lot of things happen there. But there was that, and then also small caps, those went up. Those were, again, a leader to the degree, it's weird when you look at them. I use the IWM. You could look at the Russell 2000. That's what you see up there too, but IWM is like the SPY of the SPX, but it's been holding up. I don't know why I have that 200-day up. Relative to the SPY, it's almost been pretty much exactly the same, but it has been holding up. And we said watch the laggers and leaders. Same thing now with transport. So the transports went up. I'm using FedEx because FedEx was a leader, and that was one too. It dropped a lot. That brought the transports up. If it is going to run up, if anything's going to give it a boost and has room to go up beyond even the market, it would be FedEx. So we talked about that too, even on the watch list again. But That is another thing of bringing the markets up. Transports didn't go down as much. Small caps held their gains, and then at the same time now, the bank stocks got relief from the bond rates coming up. And then lastly, we're coming into earnings season. Believe it or not, it's just 3 weeks away, and that comes faster than you think. So a lot of people have been talking about the buyout blackout period. Someone said in the chat they were gonna throw that up there for me, but at the end of the day too, coming into if they're going to be a buyout blackout period, that means they're going to buy out a lot of things before that if they have the opportunity. And at the same time, people's expectations are going to get set in. So that's why I said even watch out. Maybe we get crazier earnings cuts. Who knows? But again, I'm going to make another video even relating this to the yield curve. So stay tuned for that. But lastly, that's pretty much what drove up the market. But I guess as far as interesting plays now in specific little pieces of news, after hours, we saw Boeing. There was a flight to Orlando, and it had unrelated to the last crash. It had engine issues, and they brought that down, and there was no passengers on board. Apparently, they were ferrying the plane, but I didn't even know they were still flying. So I was confused, but it was a 737 MAX. Interesting piece of news. The stock dropped and came back up on that. So again, that actually made it break its lows, and who knows? And they have a hearing tomorrow. That's what a lot of people I know have been on the lookout for. So we're gonna keep our eyes out for that too. And then lastly, another thing let me pull up Apple. But I have Qualcomm right above that. But now there's a Qualcomm patent. They won a case in court, and the judge recommended that the iPhone get banned, or some news on news like that. I suggest you guys go look up all that. Even all this news, I'm just feeding it to you. What's coming across the feed, giving you a rundown and showing you here. So go look into that though. We saw that on stream, and we got to see that play. You should watch the live stream. I had an awful play on that. I don't want to talk about it. There was that, and then Tesla today too. I think another piece of news was Elon. They didn't get ruled in contempt by the SEC, so that was positive. But then more Model 3 base model delays. There was that, and then even in relation to the buybacks, there was Biogen. So I think that brought up the SPY and some other stuff. Even though we did see healthcare and health insurance stocks down today. And even energy was the leader. So watch oil. There was a big move on oil after hours, but Biogen made a pretty big rip. That's a big weight. That makes a pretty big pull. It's a big company. So that was interesting to see. And, again, related to buybacks, the options went crazy on that. But that's pretty much it. So that's kind of the rundown. Get ready for the watch list tonight. I think we're going to stream at 8 p.m. Pacific, an hour after. I'm going to post the watch list at 7 p.m. So we'll see it. But drop a like. Let me know. I need some comments. I need some feedbacks. What do you guys think moved the market today? I think I really want to ask people that, because it was a lot of something and it was a lot of nothing at the same time. I would love to hear you guys' feedback. I want to see you on the stream. Shout out the chat. Let's go. All right. Goodbye.